Hello and welcome to my December wrap-up. Let's get started. So I read a ton in December. I'm just going to go over everything relatively quickly. I'm going to just kind of make a short-ish video. I'm going to do physical and audiobooks. I read a total of 13 books, and I DNF'd 3 and didn't finish 1. So, let's get into it. First physical book I finished was Thrawn, Ascendancy. Greater Good by Timothy Zahn. It's the second book in the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. I loved this book. I thought it was really, really good. Not as good as this third one. Definitely, I don't know how to describe this book. This book is just really good. Highly recommend you reading it. There's not as much Thrawn in it as I would have liked, but definitely worth the read. Yeah. The next book I finished was Sherlock Holmes and the Christmas Demon by James Lovegrove. I'm going to be reading the other 2 books in that series a little bit later on in 2022. I love this book. I really like the way it was written. I really like the way he wrote the characters. And it was interesting to kind of see Sherlock Holmes in between the original 4 novels, and that's kind of how this is written. It's written between all the, I believe, written between the first and second Sherlock Holmes novels. Very, very good. Highly recommend this. And then I hope to recommend this series later on this year. But, Sherlock Holmes Christmas Demon, very, very good book. And then I finished Thrawn, Ascendancy, Lesser Evil. It's a big, chunky book. I think it's like 570 pages, maybe. Definitely. I mean, if you saw my 2021 in review, it was 549 pages. But if you saw my year-end review or my year-end, kind of wrap-up, you saw that this was in it as one of my favorite books of the last year. This is one of my favorite Star Wars books, period. I think it's probably my second favorite behind Victor's Price by Alexander Freed. But this book was incredible, and the way it wraps up the Ascendancy trilogy and brings it into the first canon Thrawn trilogy, did it beautifully. Highly recommend this book. Highly recommend this series. Definitely one of my favorites for sure. I read a lot of Thrawn in December, which actually brings me to my next one, which were Thrawn by Timothy Zahn and then Thrawn Alliances by Timothy Zahn. I finished both these books in like 4 days. I did the same thing with Lesser Evil. I did kind of a hybrid where I would read the book with the audiobook on, and then I would read audiobook when I was at work, and I didn't have a chance to read the physical copies. But Mark Thompson's incredible, and these books were really, really good. I actually like Alliances more than I like Thrawn, which it's definitely an unpopular opinion. I just really like the Clone Wars era stuff that they threw in to Alliances, because it does kind of a time jump back and forth between the relationship between Vader and Thrawn and the relationship between Anakin and Thrawn, and just kind of how they work together. Really enjoyed these books, though. I'm currently reading Thrawn, what's it called? Thrawn Treason, and I'll hope to have that done before the new High Republic book comes out. And then finally, a book I didn't finish was called The Spirit Hollows by P.R. Brewer. I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I'm about 50% of the way through it, and I'm enjoying it. It's just not what I want to read right now. Maybe give it another chance in the spring, or at least maybe finishing it in the spring, and maybe just every so often going back through and reading a little bit more. It's kind of my in-between book, so we'll see. As for audiobooks, I read a lot of audiobooks. I tried a lot of audiobooks. The first one I finished was Truth of the Divine by Lindsay Ellis. And if you, like I said, if you went and saw my year in review in books, I did not like Truth of the Divine. It just, I had such high expectations after loving Axiom's End, and it just did not meet any of it. If you want to hear more in depth, just definitely go listen or go watch my most recent book talk video, or BookTube video, and you'll see why. The next thing I finished was Paralandra by C.S. Lewis, the second book in the Space Trilogy. it was weird. It was a little confusing. I enjoyed it though. I don't know. It was okay. Definitely not one of my favorites, but I didn't like it as much as the first one, which I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It was okay. And then the next book I had finished was Race Me in a Lobster Soup by Kelly Mann. I enjoyed it. Or Kelly Mahan. I enjoyed it. It was a neat little book. It was a quick book. I read it at the beginning of the month, or I listened to it at the beginning of the month. Highly recommended if you just want a quick laugh, something quick to read. Kind of, it's definitely a year-end type book where you want to try and meet your goals and stuff like that. I had met my goal already by that point when I read it. I just kind of wanted to read it, give me something quick in December to read, and yeah. So, and then the next thing I read was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It was read by Tim Curry, which I heavily enjoyed that. Again, it's just another quick book, kind of get me in the Christmas spirit. Did a very good job of doing that. Highly recommend this particular version of it, or really just any version of the Christmas Carol. If you're on Christmas time, and again, trying to meet your reading goals, and yeah, really, really good book. Really, really good reading of the book, too, by Tim Curry. So, you know. And then I listened to The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum, which I thought was a really interesting take on the origin story of Santa Claus. And again, I highly recommend it. It's a little bit like Claus, if you've ever seen that movie. There's obviously obvious differences, but you know, I enjoyed it. It was good. It was good. Again, another good one for December if you're trying to get in the Christmas spirit and or trying to meet a reading goal. And then I read 13th Day of Christmas by Jason F. Wright. It's a sad book. Got me a little bit in the spirit, but it's a very sad book. You know, it's a contemporary book, and it's about a girl who finds out. I'm gonna say spoilers just in case. She finds out she has cancer, and she's just kind of trying to be excited about Christmas, and she makes a friend in the neighborhood, and it just gets really sad. But I really liked the way it ended, so it was very good. It's a good listen. Don't listen to it at work if you're vulnerable to crying. I'm not. I teared up a little bit, but I managed to make it through without crying. And then the next book I read was The Hunting Hour by Margaret Mizushima. It's the third book in the Timber Creek Canine series. I love this series. This was a really good book. I liked it, I think, the most so far out of all the books. I'm definitely going to be reading that series, the rest of that series if I can throughout the year. Highly recommend the series. Margaret Mizushima writes her main character really, really well. I think her main character is Maddie, and her relationship with the dog in the book is just, it's awesome, and the way they work together is incredible. And this particular book got really, really intense. So yeah. And then finally, I read the Last Conversation by Paul Tremblay. It's part of the Forward series. It's okay. I read it like right before my last couple hours last week at work. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't my favorite in the Forward series, so you know, it is what it is. And on to the books I did not finish. All three of them were audiobooks. I started A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I wanted to see what the hype was about, and I got about 25% of the way in, which is not a ton in. I had no desire to read it. You know, it's just, it came at a time where I think I was reading Thrawn, Greater Good at the time. Yeah, I think it's Greater Good. I was just finishing that up, and I was really excited for Lesser Evil, and I wanted more sci-fi than fantasy. I may revisit it at some point. I was enjoying it, I think, for the most part. And we hadn't gotten to a romance part of the book where there was romance or anything. Like I said, it was only 25% in. It was an interesting preface. Just wasn't really feeling it at the moment. Yeah, I might revisit it, but I don't think so. I'm not that big into fantasy, to be completely honest. So, you know, we'll see. And then I started The Future Is Yours by Dan Frey and started about 12% in. I just didn't like the book. It was not at all what I was hoping it would be. it was more of a courtroom drama than a sci-fi, and just was not feeling it. So, I stopped that about 12% of the way, as I said. And When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, I got picked that up like 2 days before Christmas, and because kind of like when I started the Campers and Cozy Criminals series, I was like, I really just want something that's down to earth. I just want something that's real. I want a contemporary book. This, I think, was described as kind of like a contemporary horror book. I didn't get that much into it. I got there, and then I went to go listen to it the next day, and it was like, I don't want this anymore, because I was just deeply enthralled into Thrawn at that point, which is why I'm on the third book of the trilogy in less than a month, or the fourth Thrawn book I've read in less than a month. The fifth in a month. And I'm just like, I want to be back in this giant world. And, I mean, it was decent so far. I might go back and read it, but I stopped at about 27% of the way through. And then I also caught up on High Republic comics. So, yeah. That should be it for this one. I'm not doing TBRs anymore for each month. I will do wrap-ups at the end of every month, but I'm just going to kind of leave it wide open for me this year and just kind of see what happens. So yeah, if you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, definitely subscribe, and I will see you in a later video. I will be recording another one today, so peace.